Well, g'day, folks. How you going tonight? Hope you're doing all right. It's been a bloody wet last 24 hours since I last spoke to you, I can tell you. Not so much in my area, thankfully, but thoughts are going out to people north of me in the northern areas of Brisbane and up towards the Sunshine Coast, where some major flooding has taken place. Over 300 mils fell in 2 hours last night in certain areas around Brisbane, and that caused a bit of localised flooding, which I think surprised some people at how fast the water came up, particularly in the Morayfield area. I think the Morayfield shop's first floor was underwater this morning. Not an interesting, or rather interesting way to be greeted as you get into the day. Who was just in tonight? He says, madly trying to get to the top. G'day, Hill Summit Homestead. Jack, lovely to have you on board. Paul, Billy, who else is in the house? Veronique, we've got Dave O. Oh, looks like Grant's been able to hook up. Grant, just start waving your hand a bit and I'll see whether or not we've got a moving picture in the background. That'll be helpful. Pete's in the house too. Daniel, good gag I saw of yours somewhere in there. Daniel, the lovely Suze. And where would we be without you, Suze? Absolutely, please like and share everywhere you can, folks. It's the only way we get the Voice of Freedom message out. And the algorithms certainly aren't helping us if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or anything like that. None of those algorithms are helping us. So if you can give us a thumbs up, then that'd be great. And if you aren't already subscribed, then please subscribe. Now, I'm going to try here while I've got Grant. At least I can see him in the background. I don't know whether or not I can hear him yet. G'day, Grant. How are you? Can you hear me? Nope. I would say that's no. Bugger. I should explain to people why we're finding it so difficult to connect. Grant is in outback Western New South Wales. He has quite a large property in the middle of nowhere. And in an email that he sent me earlier today, he just said some people aren't lucky enough to have unlimited internet connection. And he suffers from having to deal with not just the NBN, but NBN satellite. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would have to be? I have given him a bit of a tip about Starlink, but it is what it is at the moment. So clearly can't get a hold of Grant tonight. His system will not hold a video conference call. Apparently, I'm not sure. He might have other kids in the house and they're watching movies or doing whatever. So it could be a few issues with that. I can talk a little bit further about the Rally Against Renewables, which is happening on Canberra February 6th. And if you are of a mind, you might want to pop along to that one. Now, I can give you a bit of a list of the speakers who are going to be there. Certainly, it sounds like a who's who of the appropriate zoo. Just some of the names that will be there. And it is a big day of speeches, folks, a big day, starting at 9:45 with Reveille. So there is a military involvement behind the scenes because the day begins with Reveille and ends with the last post at 6 p.m. In between, there are scheduled to be a lot of speakers. They get 10 minutes each. At least that's the plan. Grant will kick off proceedings at 10 o'clock, followed by Gemma Pride. And then there is a fairly long string of government dignitaries who will be coming along. Jacinta Price will be speaking at around 20 past 10, followed by Craig Kelly, Senator Babbitt after that, Senator Cadell after that. Barnaby Joyce will be up at 11 o'clock. Dr. Gillespie, the member from the House, will be speaking at 10 past, followed by Senator Roberts, Senator Rennick and Senator Caravan at 10-minute intervals. There's another MP due to come in after that one. I guess it's possible it could be Senator Antic. Katie McCallum will be there, Jim Wilmot, Pauline Hanson. There are quite a few names that I'm not really familiar with here. Aidan Morrison being one of them, Dr. Ann Webster, who is an MP, I'm not sure. Russell Broadbent is another MP who'll be speaking on the day. Senator Pauline Hanson will be up around about 20 past 1 is the plan for her. Tony Paskin, MP, will be up after her, and Bob Catter will be up for a speech at around about 20 to 2 is the plan at this stage. Following Bob, it doesn't look like there's too many more MPs after that, but there is a lengthy list. I won't go through them all, right through until 5 o'clock, where Krista Haviland is going to do 10 minutes of comedy before Eleanor and band come on and put a bit of light entertainment into it all until 6 o'clock, when the last post will be played and everybody gets to go home. So that is the list of speakers. That's the plan, at any rate, for February the 6th. And if you'd like to get along to it, don't bring your tractor, would be my advice. I have spoken to Grant. He is unaware of any farmer that's bringing a tractor. The simple mechanics and logistics of getting a tractor from wherever, if it's not within, say, 100 kilometres of Canberra, the simple logistics of getting it there are just not going to happen. They're never going to get there, pardon me, on a tank of fuel. They're going to need to be put on trucks if we want numbers of them there. That's a very expensive exercise, so nobody's expecting any tractors. And if you were thinking about bringing one, you might be the only one there. So I wouldn't be worried too much about that end of things. But look, up to you. If you're close and you want to put one there, then I couldn't say that I would argue about it. Of course, there is a lot of confusion, I think, and that's why I was hoping to get Grant on the program. There's been a lot of confusion about what this rally is actually about. Now, you know, it's if I bring you up the poster for it, it says the National Energy Network, which you can find on Facebook, rallying in front of both Parliament houses. It says not here, not there, not anywhere rally. It doesn't say anything about the Rally Against Renewables. So that sort of confuses me a little bit. And then when you look here, farmers from all over Australia to converge on both Parliament houses in Australia, farmers opposed to AusNet, farmers opposed to Powerlink. I guess the logging industry, they're either looking to be represented or they're not going to be represented at all. There is talk that the logging industry is going to adapt and change into the hemp industry, so we'll wait and see what happens there. Farmers opposing the Murray-Darling Basin water buyback. Farmers opposing the Murray-Darling Basin water buyback. Okay, I'm not sure that I understand it. I know a bit about that, but I'm not sure that's where it's going. The Yallourn coal-fired power station workers, who are, I think, either out of a job or going to be in the not too distant future, because they're going to shut down that coal-fired power station in Victoria. Got some other great Victorian news coming up tonight too. I can tell you it's not fun. The community farmers in opposition to the WEF imposing reductions in livestock numbers because of the climate change arguments that are complete BS. The original First Nation land carers opposed to corporate land grabs. I think we can all get behind that one. And provided the Land Council aren't providing anybody to talk on that, and that's where some of those names might be useful to know. Community opposed to government corporate implementation of the national policies without public approval. Well, I think we're all dead set against any kind of public policies without public approval, don't you think? So still a little bit of confusion about what it's all about. And the reason for that confusion, I think, in part, might have something to do with scenes like this. Now, this is farmers in France and the trucking industry in France. In fact, the truckers have decided that they will no longer carry the cargo of the elites. They have other plans for it. Beg your pardon. That's a great farmer's response to the police. You can get a bit of an idea of what that brown fluid floating out the back there is. There is a semi-trailer size. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be adverse to some of that, but I'm not sure that that is cow shit. Cow shit comes out a different color, just between you and me. A lot of old sewage pipes floating around in Paris. So, yes, there has been some battling going on there. Texas farmers, speaking of battling, well, the Texas farmers have really come to the aid of. Oh, actually, before I get off, I'll show you that video of what the French trucking industry is doing to the cargoes they carry to the elites. And then those elites then sell those products back to the people at vastly inflated prices. Well, the truckers have had enough.
Bordel sans nom, il y a des tomates de partout, des bouteilles de vin, des bouteilles de champagne, c'est en train de se vider complètement.
Dumping bottles of champagne and truckloads
donc de ce rond-point, donc le rond-point de proximité du péage de Galargues, direction Nîmes.
So I guess if you're a cat lover, you might be a bit upset with it. But that is how the French are taking the fight to their government. The French have always been pretty exuberant in such matters, so we can only say thank you, God, for their inspiration. And I know that farmers in Australia are reticent to do similar things simply because what you're not seeing there is any police interaction. And I think our farmers would like to know they would see the same lack of interaction. But as we all still know, Paul Offey is still waiting to get his truck back. He's still waiting for his day in court. And these bastards who have made up charges against him are still going to string it out right to the death knell. But boy, are we ready for him. Now, Paul is still in need of funds to help him with his legal campaign. So you can go and help Paul at his website, which is Help Paul. Let me check on that, and I'll get back to you on that. But if you want to contact Paul and put a donation in, then let me know. I can pass it along and give you the right details. Then it's just not on the top of my head at the moment. Gee, that's embarrassing. The Rally for Renewables coming up. Well, here's a bit of an idea of what's happening in Queensland, and particularly far north Queensland. The little yellow bits are proposed solar farms, or, I beg your pardon, existing solar farms. Some of them are existing. Proposed wind farm, proposed solar farm footprint, not publicly available. So look for the green dots, right? Those green parts are the parts they're not telling you about. And the proposed wind farm footprints, not publicly available. They are the sort of orange blocks. Have a look at those orange blocks. Now, there's already some turbines in those areas, but they propose to put a hell of a lot more. And I've been lucky enough to drive up through that area, maybe more around the Mareeba, Tolga, Atherton area. And it's just the ugliest thing on that range, those bloody windmills. And if you've ever driven past a paddock full of those solar cells, you'll know, well, exactly how fabulous they are. And not terribly keen to be involved with those. Going forward, it should be recognised, it should be known by every person who supports the introduction of windmill farms and that sort of shit, particularly those wind farms, that one of those windmills can never produce enough energy to cover the cost of its own manufacture. Let that sink in. Not one of those windmills will ever be able to produce enough energy to cover the cost of its own manufacture. How is that going to help anybody? Interesting, too, that they've spread them, particularly in far north Queensland's case, along the range where the most cyclones happen and come across. What happens when there's a wind above, 15 knots? They put the brakes on them, turn them off. Oh, it gets a bit dangerous when they start blowing in the wind. No, we can't have that. So these absolutely pointless oil, 6 tons of oil they have in them, 6 tons of oil to operate one of those things. And they spring leaks. And when they spring leaks, they tend to catch fire. And now they're going to go and put them in our oceans. And there is a plan to put them out in the reef somewhere, out off the Queensland coast. Now, I think if we actually saw the plans and we found out that they were trying to put a wind farm inside the Great Barrier Reef, how many of you would kick up? What's it take for Australians to get up and... I mean, I would have thought, regardless where you live in this country, the news that the Queensland government would like to, with the help of Glencore and other miners, I'm sure, be able to evolve their carbon capture credit scheme into something that puts the carbon that is captured into the Great Artesian Basin. What would pouring millions of tons of supposedly frozen, or however they think they're going to do this, CO2 into the Great Artesian Basin, what would it do to the Great Artesian Basin? Thinking time. Okay, thinking time's done. Bing! It's going to turn it into soda water. Or near enough too. You won't want to drink it. But that's what it'll do. And it will wreck the most pure water aquifer and the largest in Australia, if not the world. It will poison it. Now, I don't care where you live in Australia, whether Western Australia, you're untouched by the Great Artesian Basin, but you have your own aquifer over there, a phenomenally amazing aquifer that people go caving in, diving in. Are the miners over there doing the same thing with your government? Because God knows the West Australian government is out there on the edge. They're right up there with Victoria. They just have bigger mines, bigger mining interests. Absolutely horrific. What does it take for Australians to stand up and say, enough? You are not going to do that. Okay, I understand Queensland and Brisbane is a long way away from probably where you live. But is it not worth turning up to Brisbane, to Parliament House there, and fighting for the Great Artesian Basin, whether you live in the Northern Territory, Queensland, Northern New South Wales, Northwestern New South Wales, or South Australia? Because it is the Queensland government that's allowing this. It's the Queensland government that is nodding its head. It is the Queensland government and its members who I have a sneaking suspicion aren't telling us the whole truth about this, and particularly in relation to what power deals and what incentives have been offered and taken. They are going to poison the most pure and largest water supply in this country. What are you going to do about it? I'm keen to hear your solution to that. Why don't you send it to solutions@vofhq.com? Because that's something we need to talk about. And I don't have a solution for it. Will turning up at the Brisbane Parliament, 100,000 of us turn up at Brisbane Parliament, is that going to make any difference? I doubt it. I doubt it. But now you might remember all those greenies that we laughed at and poo-pooed and carried on with and slagged off at for years, who were standing at the gates of some of these mines demanding that they did the right thing. That may well be the only way we can stop the trucks carrying this shit that they're going to pour into the aquifer. Let's face it, the aquifer is spread over a very large area, but their plan is to tip this shit, to pour this frozen CO2 or whatever back into the earth, into dead mine holes, dead drill holes. So they've taken the gas out of there, they've taken the gas out of the pocket, and in theory, they're going to replace the gas that they took out of the earth by fracking with the CO2 that they're charging people to store in the earth, or better still, rather, in the Great Artesian Basin. Scientists from around the world have complained. Scientists around Australia are remarkably quiet about it. I think probably because most of them are getting grants from the CSIRO. And we all know that the CSIRO are not working for us, don't we, kids? We're aware of that, aren't we? You've sussed that bit out yet? It's certainly not working for us. And they haven't been for a very long time. That's another solution we need to find, because we have some of the best scientific minds in the world. Unfortunately, it appears they're demonic bastards, corrupted, bribed, or just not human enough to care. Otherwise, they wouldn't be involved in this shit. So we need a solution for that. God, we need a lot of solutions, folks. And we're never going to find a solution if we don't talk about the problem. If you've got a problem we need to talk about, send it to solutions@vofhq.com. I'll put it on the list, and we'll try and get some people with some knowledge to speak on the subject. I'm afraid that's about the best that we can do at the moment. Important thing happened in South Australia. Geez, Mum. I'm sorry. Can't talk to you right now. Sorry about that. I'll hit a little message that says, sorry, I can't talk right now. I don't know. These people that don't watch the show, really, you'd think they'd know. And I owe myself a carton for leaving the phone turned on while I was doing a show. Bit of a dick. I apologise. Where was I at? South Australia re a jab case. So there has been a bit of a win in South Australia regarding the jibbity jab. And if you suffered particularly pericarditis in South Australia, precedent has now been created. Vaccination injury or compensatable. They found significant contributing cause to pericarditis, and a youth worker who developed that after his third jibbity jab is going to now get paid weekly compensation and medical expenses, I would suggest, for the rest of his life. Now, you don't know to what level he has been incapacitated by this, but the fact of the matter is he now has to watch everything he does and relate it to how it will affect his heart for the rest of his life. And even that's not going to guarantee that one day he's going to wake up dead, because it's just going to stop, as we have seen so much evidence of in recent days. Speaking of evidence in recent days, Evergrande has gone down in China. Now, that was always a big marker. We were always told Evergrande going down for $500 billion would affect the finance markets in a significant manner everywhere in the world. Pardon me. Now, this has only happened in the last 36 hours or so. And I sat off. I was going to mention it last night, and the show just got away. So I didn't bother, because nothing significant really has happened, even to date. I rang Michael from Ainsley Bullion earlier today to see whether or not the markets were moving in any way, shape, or form anywhere in the world about this. And he said no. Silver has moved a little bit to the positive side, but he doesn't see that as anything more than a natural occurrence in the market at the moment anyway. So the markets haven't been affected yet. Banks, well, it's hard to tell with us, because American banks will be the ones that start showing this first, although I suspect the big four in Australia might also start showing some signs of this impact on their business, but it may take a month or so. Bank West, on the other hand, who now basically do not have any kind of a physical presence anywhere outside of Western Australia, have also closed down more branches there in the last week or so. And when somebody went to a Bank West branch and travelled 130 kilometres to get there to take out $300 cash, and they were refused by the teller, no, you can't have that much money, and they were referred to a post office in the town to try and get it from there, which was okay for a personal account, but unfortunately the post office wasn't able to give him access to his company account, which he couldn't get money out of then either, and Bank West weren't giving it to him. So apparently that may have been an employee error. They have a $3,000 a day limit per customer, and if you want anything more than that, you have to advise them. But as they only have a handful of actual branches left, and this fella said, I'm amazed. It's no wonder there's no service. You've been closing branches down everywhere. I'm amazed this one's still open. And the person behind the desk said, well, it won't be for much longer. And that was pretty much their attitude with the whole thing. So don't expect help from people behind the counters at the bank either. They'll only do what they have to do. And they want you to do some great, surprising test to say how great they are at the end of it. Well, don't hold back, folks, because the banks are shit. Absolute shit. There has been some really interesting stuff popping around online recently about interest rates and how that interest relates to you. You go to borrow some money, or better still, you go and deposit some money for savings, and they give you a fraction of the percent they loan it out on. They give you the 0.1% interest, and they keep the lion's share. Well, we all know that banks have worked like that, but right now, the finance industry and its greed has got the better of itself and everybody else. And I do believe that Evergrande going down in China, we've had 3 big builders go down today in Melbourne. Big builders go down today. Godfrey's have closed or gone into administration today. Now, some of you may not be familiar with who Godfrey's are. Godfrey's were a huge vacuum cleaner retail outlet throughout Australia. I think they started up in the mid-'80s, late 80s, family-owned operation. They had stores all over the place, particularly on the East Coast. I don't know about over in WA, but they were everywhere. Well, today they've gone into administration. If you want to go and have a look at the news, the mainstream media fake news pages, well, is it fake? Is it real? But there are young people, 28-year-olds, 32-year-olds, 48-year-olds, dropping dead all over the place with, no cause has been released, or, no decision has been made exactly on what they're dying from. And of course, you cannot rely on the coroner to be putting the truth out, because the coroner, in fact, was ordered not to conduct autopsies throughout the whole lockdown period. And if anybody died from anything at all, it was going to be the dreaded spicy cough, as we all remember. Never forget what they did to us, folks. Never forget. I got to say, I'm very excited about this. A call to bring back conscription as war looms. I haven't been able to get Cooker Watch to make a comment. I don't know exactly how the cookers would feel about this. I get a funny feeling a lot of those cookers would be right in the age bracket where the conscription ball might fall. Wouldn't that make for an interesting first day at camp? Blue and purple hair, earrings in places that aren't ears, hair in places that shouldn't have it, hair on people that shouldn't have it. It'll be an interesting time. And can you imagine the screaming? Oh my God, the screaming. I shouldn't smile about it, because I don't like hearing people scream. I don't like hearing their anguish. Don't enjoy that carry on. But I could probably put up with it for a little while just to see it. Oh, there is a lot of things I want to say there, but I'm not going to say them, because I'm turning over a new leaf. I am. What else have I got here? Oh, well, yeah, just back on that Adelaide or South Australian case there for a minute. It should be pointed out that this does create precedent, folks. And the precedent is pretty much for anybody who has pericarditis and can prove they didn't have it before they got the jibbity jab. I know there are compensation plans available, so I don't know that this is super big news, but the fact that it went to an inquiry inside an official, if you like, supposedly justice type of adjudicator, gives me cause to think that this could be a very interesting thing going forward. A very interesting thing. Let's have a look at something else. James O'Keefe put out an interesting post. Why is there a gold replica of the Ark of the Covenant at Trump's Mar-a-Lago home? George from at George HQ replied, plot twist, it's not a replica. Moving right along. Japan drops vax rollout. Why? Well, they figured out that ivermectin ends COVID better. How good's that? How long before the rest of the world wakes up? And has the recent earthquakes that have been happening in Japan, were they part of an influencing campaign put on by anybody to have this sort of result put out? We have already heard that Japan, from in fact the health minister of Japan, when interviewed one day by some nobody journalist, admitted that they had to follow the orders that they were given regarding the spicy cough rollout and lockdowns and all that sort of stuff, or they would suffer a catastrophic natural disaster. And by way of a warning, not catastrophic, but a significant earthquake, natural disaster happened, and its epicenter was 6 kilometers under Japan's largest nuclear reactor. We've talked about the way that earthquakes can be generated in previous shows, and they've, in fact, only a week or so ago, I showed you the technology that they use to do that and how it works off the ionosphere. Now, could the recent spate, and I think as recent as last weekend, if not more recently, there have been 6-point plus earthquakes through Japan, and now all of a sudden we're seeing this sort of news come out. So, to my knowledge, that is the first public admission by a government. I could be wrong; there might be others, but I think that's well, I think that's pretty reasonably significant, just between you, me, and the Gatepost. Worthwhile looking more. All right, just about at the end of the things I wanted to talk about. I did want to show you something funny from a bloke out of the UK. I guess if you believe this, you will believe anything. There is a... oh, it didn't load up. That's a bit of a bugger. Hang on, let me just share this for you. There is a big warning that is currently going out in the UK. Now, okay, I guess we're all getting warnings now and again, but this one is something pretty much unheard of even for them. Is it going to come up and play? Maybe not. Video file. Open. Oh, it's having trouble. There you go. Somebody doesn't want me to show you that file. All right, quite simply, what the file says is that the UK, it's in one of the big UK dailies, newspapers, it says that the UK is going to experience a significant event with Sahara dust falling all over the continent. Now, this Sahara dust might take various different forms and colors and shades and all that sort of stuff, but it is Sahara dust picked up in the Sahara some 6,000 miles away and magically transported without being diluted through the air, over the oceans, and magically spread all across the UK. Nobody seems to be talking about the vast amount of aircraft flying over them, spraying shit. But that'll have nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it at all, because it's Sahara dust that's coming out of the sky. So be prepared, folks. That's what the British mainstream media can come up with, and our Australian mainstream media follows British and American mainstream media pretty happily. So it won't be long now before we have severe dust issues, right? The dust will be picked up out of the Simpson or the Great Western Desert or whichever, and it will be deposited over your place. Keep an eye on the skies is all I would say about that, because I don't think that there is much in what they're reporting. All right, not going to keep you long tonight because I did have a hope that Grant would be able to join us, but clearly his system isn't able to keep up with it tonight. So maybe when he gets to town to do the shopping, or we'll catch up with him on his way to Canberra and have a chat with him then. I really do want to get him on for a bit of a chat so we can learn more about what this event is actually about. What sort of action, or are we just going to stand there and listen to what appears to be 7 hours of solid speeches of a lot of politicians, and will there be any solutions presented? That would be my question. We'll pop along and have a look, shall we? If you've got a solution for that sort of thing, want to hear about it. We've got a couple. So get a pen, get a bit of paper, or get your iPad or your phone, or get ready to write something down here. I've already mentioned to you solutions at vofhq.com. If you've got a problem you think we need to find a solution for, or indeed if you have a partial or full solution for a problem, then we want to hear about it. So send that to solutions at vofhq.com. Right, write that one down. That's for solutions and problems. Now I have something else for you. If perchance you would like to share us some files, but you don't particularly want me to know who you are or where those files came from, we can now help with that. If you would like to contribute anything, if you've got a bit of news from your town, if you've got some video you'd like to share, and I haven't shared lots of video that I get because it gets sent directly to my iPhone, and I don't have an easy way of transferring that into this system. This gives us a very easy way to transfer your videos into our system. So get your pen ready. contrib.vofhq.com. Think of contributor, but just contrib.vofhq.com. Now, if you ordain to send us something to that particular site, it will be 100% anonymous. We have no way of checking who you are. We have no way of providing any information to anybody from whatever you upload. What you upload has no guarantee of ever being seen on here. Don't think for a moment that I'm just going to dive into the pile and start throwing your videos up. I won't. Particularly if there are whistleblower type videos, because we do have a duty of care, and regardless of the legal side of things, I have a duty of care to you to do the best I can to verify the information that I'm being given. But if you want to share some information and you don't want us to know who you are, and you might have sensitive files, video files, any kind of file, send it to us at contrib.vofhq.com, and you will be very safe in your anonymity, and we will get access to the documents you'd like to share. And God knows there are a lot of you out there that do want to share and are sharing through the usual sources, albeit very carefully. So I appreciate every one of you, but those who are brave enough to step up like this, especially so. There is an element of risk in everything that we do in this war. We don't have enough people up on the front line at the moment, but if you're one of those people that can help provide a bit of ammunition and maybe certain direction, then I would appreciate that. And can I just tell you that one of those directions, let me turn my page back over. One of those directions has come to me today in the form of some hidden inquiries, some hidden government inquiries, or at least, if not absolutely hidden and buried, then they are obfuscated to a point where nobody goes to look them up or look for answers to certain pedophilic questions. Today, I've been made aware of at least 2 reports, at least 2, other reports, aside from any report that may list the name of the 28 after the Wood Royal Commission, I've been made aware that there is a potential for 2 reports to exist. I haven't seen these reports. I have seen no proof that these reports actually exist. I do know their names, but I sit back and I wait for those reports to materialize in that inbox, contrib.vofhq.com. If you want to send me in the proof of that, I'm very keen. But those 2 reports are said to contain the names of over 700 individuals each. Not the same 700 in 2 reports, but the names of over 700 individuals in each report involved in high-level human trafficking and pedophilia in this country. That's a report, or at least 2 reports I'd like to see. So if you happen to know where they are, contrib.vofhq.com. Would love to get your input. I'm going to sneak down into the chat and have a bit of a glance, see if you're all being nice tonight. And you always are nice. There's never any infighting, and the trolls just get slapped around. That's what I love about you. Let's have a look around Hill Summit. Jack, you're very chatty there tonight. And Daniel, as always, good to have you part of it. That's an interesting one. You're not the only one to do that, Jack. Sending a bunch of questions to politicians about potential health outcomes after the Gibbity. And yeah, they're not talking about it at all. And that in itself raises a question. Why not discuss it? I'm not going to go into excuse-making mode for them. They have people that get paid much better than I do to do that for them. So, but that is certainly a question that I think is worthy of an answer. It's not a question with barbs. It is a serious, genuine question asked, I believe, with a genuine, open, honest need to know. So our politicians need to start, even if they don't know the answer, they've got to tell us. And when they tell us that they don't know, sometimes we've got to give them the benefit of the doubt, don't you think? Because maybe they just don't. I've had a lot of feedback to what I said last night about particularly those 3 politicians that I've apologised to, not even being in the Parliament at the time of the Wood Royal Commission, not being in the Parliament at the time where the documents would have been hidden by those in the Parliament. In fact, there aren't too many people still left in that place that were there during this time. But I suspect there's 1 or 2 politicians on the list that will be speaking at the Rally Against Renewables were there. So might be an interesting rally. Be interesting to see if we could gain some insight. But certainly there is no reason to believe that even if they were there and they were just new, that that sort of information would be of open access, and they would never get an opportunity to ask the question about it because they wouldn't know it existed. But I can tell you that there is definitely some people who will know where it's hidden. The only people who have definitely been there through the whole saga the whole time. Who are they? The bureaucrats. They'll know where it is. It's their job to bury and hide paperwork. So, I don't know if there is a bureaucrat actually with a soul left working in the Australian government or for the Australian people. I don't think there is. But should you happen to be one, or should you happen to know one, and you might happen to know where that file is located and how to gain access to it, then you might be able to send that to contrib.vofhq.com and help the cause. It'll help your cause immensely. But it will help the greater cause as well. That's a fight we are going to have one day. But right now, we don't even know where the battlefield is located to have that fight. So there's no point shooting everybody walking down the street on either side over this particular issue, because odds are they are telling you 100% truth. They don't have the vaguest idea of where these names, or who these names are, where they are hidden, and why, and who hid them for so long. I just suspect that is the case, sadly. And the only way that we, the people, are going to get access to that information, and maybe not even then, is when we take the hill, when the people are once again back in charge. And even then, there's every chance some dedicated bureaucrat will have a bonfire somewhere and burn every shred of evidence that ever existed, if there hasn't already been one. So we've got to pick the hills we're going to die on, folks, and I don't think this is a hill worth dying on just yet. I'm still trying to get to the top of the hill. I'm still trying to drag a lot of people up to the top of the hill with me. I don't want to die on this issue on this side of the hill. I'm happy to die on this issue at the top of the hill when all the facts and all available avenues are open to us. But until that point, we're just going to have to keep fighting up that hill. And I hope you will continue to fight with me. I really do. Because, honest, I'd be lost without you. 100% lost without you. So would Vince. Vince has never been so popular, just saying. Now, folks, Cass has been into hospital today and had surgery. A little while ago, she was walking a dog. She came on, I think, the night that this happened. She was on the show. She'd been walking dogs. She got 3 large dogs, all clipped onto one lead that she hangs onto. The largest dog took off. The other 2 followed, and it tore her finger pretty much straight out of the socket, as it turns out, and ligaments and tendons and all sorts of other stuff. Went to the doctor. The doctor said, "Oh, no, that'll be fine. Take a couple of Nurofen, you'll be right." That was 4 months ago. She's been in significant pain ever since, and it is her typing hand, right hand, or a dominant hand. So she was getting continued pain. Today she had surgery on that finger to have the finger. Initially, they thought they were going to have to re-break her finger and reset it, but that hasn't been the case, fortunately. They have had to split some tendons to put the knuckle and the finger back into position correctly, and they've had to put a few stitches in tendons and whatnot to stitch it all up, put it in the right place. Her hand is in a plaster splinty kind of thing, I think, and she is unable to type. And obviously, over the next couple of weeks, she's going to be feeling a bit miserable. So if you are one of the folks that has enjoyed Cass's interactions here, or if you've met her through your interactions with a self-managed super fund through FFS, why don't you send her an email, a get well email, cass@vofhq.com. Don't expect a reply. She can't type. If she types, she's in trouble. If she sends you a reply, send it to me so I have evidence that she is not allowed to type. She's definitely not allowed to type. So no replies, but cheer her up a bit. Send her a get well card, or a get well message, if you would. Cass, CASS, @vofhq.com. She does so much for all of us behind the scenes, many things that you guys know nothing about. She is a warrior, this lady, an absolute warrior at the front of this game. And right now, she's taken one, not so much for the team, the dog team, and needs to get back on her feet. So if you can cheer her up, send her an email, cass@vofhq.com. Now, speaking of Freedom Financial Services, I want to tell you that there are a couple of events coming up in the not too distant future, particularly in Victoria and New South Wales, that you might be interested in. Ainsley Bullion and Freedom Financial Services seminars. So February 19th at Mansfield, My Place Mansfield. is the first one coming up. That's 19th of February between 7 and 9:30 in Mansfield. The venue is a TBA at the moment, but I'll let you know as soon as that one comes through. If you are in the Wagga area and you want to get a bit of information on gold, silver, platinum, precious metals, what sort of an investment difference that will make, then the Wagga RSL on the 22nd is the place. And of course, Cass might be at this event, depending on the recovery time with the finger, but Mary Jane from FFS will be there, especially for that event as well. So if you haven't already considered a self-managed super fund and you're a bit keen, then all the information will be available at the Wagga RSL, 6 till 8:30 p.m, 22nd of February. Great place to go in and have a meal beforehand too. My place, Mansfield, on the 19th of February, 7 to 9:30. And on the 23rd of February, hello, Sarah, my place, Shepparton, one of my favourite places, the Terminus Hotel at 226 High Street in Shep will be the venue for the event that night. Ainsley Bullion, Freedom Financial Services. Now, I know I've got a lot of people that follow me through the Sunraysia district, around Shepparton, Echuca, Yarrawonga, Cobram, and places in between. Benalla, I've got people there. Hello to everybody in Tatura. Down further south, down to Seymour and Euroa. Oh, there's a new My Place in Euroa. Hello to Eric and Fran. God love you. Can't wait to see you soon, Francis. Oh, and Eric. Don't forget Eric. So, yes, this is an opportunity for you guys to come together and really learn more about the benefits of a self-managed super fund. And should you choose to take up the offer, then gold and silver play a pretty large role in that. There are other things you can use as well. You can land and all sorts of stuff you can put into self-managed super funds. Hell, you can go and build a block of flats, but you might require a bit of backing, and that'll be the gold and silver that'll come into play. So Ainsley have been nothing but the best when it comes to my dealings with gold and silver. I was talking to Michael today. He is a font of knowledge, as is his whole team. And Katrina and David, who are heading up Melbourne now, putting together a calendar of events for more events, particularly through the western part of Victoria. I hope to play a minor role along some of those events. And we are working to put together a Ainsley and FFS run into Far North Queensland a little later on this year. I'm going up to Far North Queensland, I don't know, April, May, somewhere like maybe May, June, I don't know. Things are a little bit fluid, but it'll be that April, May, June kind of time. And I plan on going up for quite some time, a number of weeks. So we're going to be doing shows in conjunction with the Cairns News all over Far North Queensland, and hopefully a couple of events. I'd love to be involved with some of the events that happen in those sorts of places. And what do I mean by those sorts of places? Well, there's a horse race that happens at Cape York. You ever seen it? Me either. But apparently there's a whole bunch of our black brothers that come out of the bush on their horses, and there is a horse race that is very, very, very well attended. But you either got to drive in by four-wheel drive or fly in by plane to get to it. It sounds like a hell of an event, and maybe we can get some cameras there and live stream that on FBN. That's what FBN will be. It'll be different to what the Voice of Freedom is, and I'll have a very different hat on FBN. But the Voice of Freedom will remain what it is. This will be the place where I can get angry, and possibly the breakfast radio show that I'm planning as well. But we'll see how that goes. As for the rest of it, well, it'll unfold as it unfolds. But there are a lot of events up there, rodeos, all that sort of stuff. I would love to be able to share with you, our listeners. And of course, if we're there, we might be able to share the message to a broader audience. Although I think in Far North Queensland, most of you guys are pretty well awake. God love you. It has been a pleasure once again to be with you here tonight, folks. I am forever humbled that whenever I turn this thing on, there is somebody on the other side of that camera watching. So thank you for being you. Thank you for spending some time with me again tonight. There'll be more tomorrow. I don't think there's much point in trying to reach out with Grant again. Oh, I tell you what, there is something I should be telling you about, and it's on tonight. Now, if you're in Victoria, it's going to kick off in about 35 minutes' time. Let me just see. I should be able to share this with you if I do the right thing. Share a screen, share a window, share. Yeah, that doesn't. Oh yes, that's it. Let's share that. All right, Truth Seeker TV tonight on Telegram. Now, if you're not part of Truth Seeker TV, it's Beckio and a whole bunch of other folks, but Beckio and Justin generally are the main runners. Of course, Doris plays a bit of a role in there too, and Maddie and a few others. But last night and tonight, they are doing some pretty spectacular shows on Telegram. Now, that is the address down the bottom there, the Truth Seekers channel, and their live stream will start tonight with, sort of questions and Q&A from about 9 o'clock Victorian time. So it's now 7:25 Queensland, 8 Victoria. So about 35 minutes time, this whole thing will get underway. It's an open mic night. If you have a story about being jab injured, then this is your place to tell it. And it's up to you whether or not you want to be seen. You can turn your camera on or not. They don't care whether you want to provide video or not, but they are very keen to hear your story. If you know people who are vax injured, then this is the program to get them onto tonight, to start sharing it, because it is through sharing this knowledge that we grow and we learn. And I think what the girls are doing tonight, what the girls and Justin are doing tonight is an exceptionally important event, and I'm planning on dropping in. So that's the link. If you want to go into that, folks, Truth Seekers channel live stream. But I believe the main speaker for the evening will not get underway until a little bit after 9 or even 9:30, I think. So be in there by 9 o'clock Victorian time. I think they're going to get the speaking up from 9:30, and you'll be able to have the opportunity to answer questions afterwards too. Beck and the team from Truth Seekers, great bunch of folks, and I highly recommend, if you aren't already part of their Telegram channel and their Telegram family, to come and be part of it. The girls looked after me tremendously while I was in Victoria. I couldn't have had more support, more help. Nothing was too much trouble. And to top it all off, they are just a group of the most magnificent, wonderful women I've ever met in my life. I am so grateful that Beck and her team have come into my life. They are truly wonderful, and I urge you to get them into your life. Truly magnificent stuff. Be safe, folks. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. There is still a lot of rain around on the roads tonight, so we know what that's likely to wind up doing. And, of course, if you are going to be on the roads and those wet roads, there's always going to be some dickhead out trying to do circle work around the roundabout. So just see if you can avoid them, hey? See you tomorrow night.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!